Good evening and welcome to Story Hour. I'm tonight's host, Laura Blackwell. My co-host, the marvelous Daniel Marcus, started Story Hour well over 5 years ago now, when we just needed those stories, that connection with each other. And as time goes on, we still need those connections and we still need these stories, and we need them every single Wednesday. So here we are. Tonight is special because we always have two wonderful authors, but tonight we have two wonderful authors who are new to Story Hour, probably not new to everybody watching. But tonight we have Frank Oreto and Ayida Shonibar. So welcome to those of you returning, and welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time. If you are here on Zoom, feel free to join us on the text chat. If you are here on YouTube, text chat away if you like, but there may not be anyone there talking to you. And so if you'd prefer to remain anonymous in your enjoyment of story, that is also okay. All ways of enjoying story are respected here. Our first writer tonight is Frank Oreto. Frank Oreto is a writer of weird and horrific fiction living in the wilds of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. His works have haunted the pages of F&SF, the year's best hardcore horror, and Flame Tree Press. And his stories have been screamed out into the abyss. I love that. On podcasts such as Pseudopod, the No Sleep Podcast, and Tales to Terrify. His first collection, It's Dark in Here, 21 Tales of Terror and one poem about a squirrel, will be coming out this year. Frank, I do hope you can drop a pre-order link for that later. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm going to be reading a story called Survival is an Act of Selfishness. As far as any sort of warnings about it, there are children in peril. They are so in peril. So just keep that in mind. Other than that, not much to warn about. But let's go to work. And no squirrels in this one. Sorry.
And no poetry.
No poetry, no squirrels. Yes.
Then I for one am safe with this story. Please read it to us.
All righty. Here we go. Survival is an Act of Selfishness. By me, Frank Oreto. The sheets on my son's freshly made bed are South Sea blue, dotted with cartoon pirate ships. The green striped pillow in my hands doesn't match the theme. The matching pillowcase, with its plumed parrot perched on a treasure chest, is in the trash, stained brown from Randy's nosebleeds. Maybe the child psychologist would say, keep the old pillowcase. A sense of continuity is more important than a few stains. But I didn't ask. I don't like those stains. They're a sign that something is breaking inside my son. Something I can't fix. Shouting bursts out downstairs, a whoop, then laughter. I listen closely, examining tone and timbre, the way the psychologists say to. The laughter climbs, but there's no brittleness to it. Not yet. I toss the pillow on the bed and head downstairs. In the living room, Randy stands, his linking band still covering his eyes and ears, hands gloved. That was badass, Toby, pure badass. I think it was a 3, a freaking 3. For a moment, I imagine Randy lying motionless on the rug. I run to him, peel the elastic band of circuitry from his face, and look into dead eyes, welling blood. Is imagination the right word? Is there a term for seeing a future that's inevitable? In my head, I repeat the child neuroplasticity rates the psychologists are constantly quoting. 15 through 18 is the red zone. We've got time. Today, Randy's okay. Talking trash with his friend Toby, high-fiving empty air. I'm pretty sure Toby lives in Missouri. If the group hasn't changed, there's also a girl in Samoa named Natia and a pair of twins who live in Pennsylvania like we do, but on the eastern end of the state. My own twins, Nancy and Matthew, sit on the couch, turning their link-encircled heads in quick, short jerks, fingers flexing in their small gloves. I check my phone. They have another 15 minutes before their patrol ends. If Randy really took out a 3, he'll be off duty for a day, maybe 2. I pick up empty Respera juice boxes and stem bar wrappers from the coffee table and take them to the kitchen. Randy will take another few minutes to log off with his group, then he'll want to talk. I pour glasses of milk and slice up a few apples. The kids can't live on junk food and antipsychotics alone. The fruit goes on a tray, along with some PB&Js I made this morning. I take them out to the dining room. Randy bursts in, red pressure lines from the link band still visible on his forehead. Dad, it was a 3. Can I call Mom? Can I? Whoa, champ, you need to eat something first. Randy nods. Sure, yeah, gotta feed the beast. He picks up half a sandwich and bites off a mouthful. My son is 12 years old. He's been fighting monsters since he turned 5. How you feeling, Randy? Like a winner? Randy's voice comes out in thick peanut butter sticky syllables. I'm sure it was a 3. I could feel it. Powerful, you know? A gazer, I think. Like the one that burned out those 2 battle groups in May. The thing was all eyes. I mean, not like people eyes. The shapes were all wrong. But I knew they were eyes. We could feel every part of the thing staring at us when we moved on it, looking all the way inside us. He flexes his hands as if to mold his inadequate words into something more meaningful. And the eyes pulled at us, the way a vacuum pulls when it gets too close to your skin. Randy blinks hard once, then twice, jerking his head back and forth each time. Randy? I wrap my arms around him, keeping my voice as calm as possible. It's okay, son. You stopped the monster. You're home now. The blinking stops, at least for now. Toby stuck it with an stasis bomb, but we had to push all the way inside the thing to get a lock. It was like swimming through something warm and thick, something that stings. Toby felt it the worst. He screamed the whole time, but he got the stasis bomb locked on. I hold my son, knowing the words will keep coming. The psychologists say encourage them to talk it out. Verbalizing is good. Movement for it was like breathing, I think. When the stasis locked on, the gazer tore itself apart trying to keep going. But what, son? My hands rub Randy's back. The psychologists say ground them in this world with contact. Hugs heal. But what? After the thing was in pieces, dead, had to be dead, it was still looking at us. Definitely a gazer. I kiss Randy on the forehead. Your nose is bleeding. Let me get some tissues. I can't decide which is worse, the nosebleeds or the spastic blinking. You kicked a 3's butt. Mom's going to be so proud. My wife, Donna, is not someone you can just phone up. She works on the problem. Most people can't do that. They don't have the math. Of course, people with the math caused the problem in the first place. They're the ones who figured out we didn't need spaceships or FTL drive to get to the stars. Just enough energy to punch into one universe next door with a slightly different set of physics, then punch back into ours. Their math didn't predict that the universe next door would be so foreign to our own. The only word to describe it is evil, or that the unimaginable things inhabiting the other universe would notice us and want to come through. A man answers the phone. He sounds old, but that could just be fatigue. We're all exhausted. I need to speak to Donna Linderman. He'll say no. despite the fact that I wouldn't even have this number if I wasn't authorized. But you follow the protocol or get hung up on. Dr. Litterman isn't available. I don't say asshole out loud, but I think it hard. It's easy to hate the scientists and their math, but they are our only hope of closing the doors we opened. Just like our children, with their still developing minds, are the only soldiers who can pilot the fighting drones operating just inside that other universe. This is her husband, Patrick. Our son, Randy, would like to debrief directly to her. His team just came offline. They terminated a level 3 entity, called it a gazer. There's a moment of silence before Donna's voice comes on the line. Hey, Pat, tell Randy I'm putting them on speakerphone. My research crew would like to hear what happened. Randy takes the phone. He retells his story, this time with more details, no doubt fielding questions from Donna's team. Yeah, the stasis bomb worked great. We didn't know you could kill a gazer that way. We just wanted it to stop moving so we could get a beat on the thing. I watch him, ready to intervene if the blinking starts again. The twins, 6-year-old Nancy and Matthew, wander in looking haggard. Kids their age run routine patrols, cleaning out low-risk targets and calling the battle teams when something large gets spotted. Their work isn't as dangerous as Randy's, not as much chance of total brain shutdown, but it's grinding. They'll join their own battle group in a couple of years. Nancy, certainly. Matthew is more sensitive. The boy stores all the horrors away inside himself. I can see them dancing in his eyes. Some kids just burn out early. Looking at Matthew breaks my heart. Have some fruit, guys. Then it's nap time. Randy waves the phone back and forth. Mom says we should go to the movies tonight, if it's all right with you. I take the phone. Hey, are we still on speaker? No, all alone. I step out of the kid's earshot. You really want to go out tonight? The twins are dead on their feet. Me too, says Donna. But I think we shouldn't put things off. Yeah? Maybe I should feel a sense of dread at her words, but I spent my dread years ago. All I have left is resignation. Randy's kill was definitely a level 3, second one today. We have reports of a level 5 at the Thins in Denver. The spotter is solid, an 8-year-old veteran. She described the thing as a semi-transparent mountain full of teeth. I think we should go see that movie. We see The Incredibles, an old Pixar film from the early 2000s. The movie industry isn't really a thing anymore, but theaters keep the old films in rotation for the kids. Donna sits next to me. The twins flank their big brother, munching popcorn. Halfway through the film, Donna leans into my ear. Come outside with me. No phones, Mom, Matthew whispers from around a mouthful of popcorn. Donna pushes the still vibrating phone back into her pocket. We get up and walk into the lobby. What's going on? Donna doesn't speak, only pulls me out into the parking lot. Above us, jagged streaks of black lightning flash across the full moon. The moon is a thin spot. Luckily, the creatures that crossed over there don't seem interested in leaving. But the black lightning they brought with them doesn't exactly help humanity's morale. I'm pregnant. I pull my eyes from the sky. My mouth moves soundlessly while words form in my brain. What? Whose? A man in Montana. He used to be a high school English teacher. His kids have great mental stability scores. You didn't even talk to me first? You know the rules. I'm years behind. I do know the rules. Youth Conscription Act, Young Hero Production Act, Global Government Consolidation Accords, all passed in a rush during the summer of 2125 after Private Margaret Wilmot traveled successfully to moon-based Luna via multiversal transfer and was dissolved moments later by something resembling a giant acid-filled starfish. Oh, you work on the problem. You're exempt from the fucking Young Hero Production Act. Donna takes my hand. I need to do this. Having this baby, it's an act of hope. I can't go on working without hope. Neither can you. But you won't be there. I'll be the one changing her, feeding her, holding her when she cries. Her. Jesus Christ, I'm already imagining a her. I don't care about the guy in Montana with the good mental stability scores. This child would be my little girl. She'll look just like Donna in their baby pics. I'll make her laugh, watch her learn to walk and talk. Then I'll wake her up one morning and I'll tell her we're in a war that only kids can fight. I'll strap a link band around her head, push her tiny pink fingers into reflex gloves, and I'll show her what hell is like. But even knowing that, all that, I need this baby as much as Donna. We could name it Margot after my mom. And for a little while, at least, I'll have a child who's happy. Donna's staring at me, and I realize I'm crying. I'm glad you're pregnant. Donna seems to think about this. She looks almost disappointed. Do you think maybe all the good people are already dead? Only selfish assholes willing to let their children fight a war for them survive? Before the conversation can go on, Donna's phone vibrates. What's happening? War news isn't broadcast publicly, but Donna isn't part of the public. The 5 is breaching in Denver. Missiles are in the air. I look west, as if I could see Denver from Pittsburgh. We should go to the kids. No, says Donna. If 5 gets through, it's an extinction level event. Let them enjoy their movie. We stand there, holding hands, staring at an empty western horizon. 10 minutes later, Donna's phone buzzes. She reads the screen, puts the phone away, and kisses me. It doesn't feel like a kiss goodbye. The missiles turn out to be a new design. No fallout on our side. We lose Denver, but the world's still here. Can we call the baby Margot if it's a girl? Donna nods. I lie in bed that night, unable to sleep, unwilling to take the pills that would make sleep even a remote possibility. A muffled cry comes from down the hall. Donna sits up. I'm at the bedroom door when Randy steps in front of me, his hair sticking up in tufts, tears on his cheeks. I had a nightmare, Randy says and leans against my chest. The twins, their steps muffled by footy pajamas, appear behind their brother. Bad dreams all around, huh? Come on in. Donna spreads out the pillows. Randy, Matthew, and Nancy climb onto the big bed, snuggling beneath the duvet. Donna and I get in after, flanking our children like bookends. I reach across them, joining hands with my wife. In a moment, everyone but me is asleep. Tomorrow, maybe the world will end. I don't have the math to solve that problem. And my brain is too old and set to fight the monsters. But I'm a good dad, at least what passes for one these days. So I do what any good dad does. For a few hours, in this bed, I keep the nightmares away. And that's the end of that one. But I do have one other little story, really, really, really short. And this next one is actually based on a little project that I and Douglas Gwillem, who may be in the audience, were involved in, Pete, or Douglas, years ago. And it was to make small stories that could fit on one-sheet posters and put them around the city in different places. And so people got a little bit of weird into their lives. And they'd be disguised as posters about missing pets or cars for sale, or in this case, a job opening. And this is job opening. There are no triggers here, and really, and unless you don't like children's books, which some people don't. Okay. So imagine you're walking down the street, you turn, you see a poster on the wall, you walk up to the poster, and this is what it says. Job opening, position, overnight home companion for shut-in. Must be able to read. Lack of imagination, a plus. Salary, $250 a night. I've never seen who pays, but the cash is there every morning at sunrise. A brown paper bag in the mailbox, 20s and 10s. Good money, right? But I need to explain some things. I don't want to come in blind like I did. Pros. No adult diapers to change. In fact, you'll never even see Mrs. Hendricks. I've been doing this for 3 months, and the only reason I know her name is it's on some of the letters on top of the kitchen table. There's an old dirty curtain hanging over across the back half of the bedroom. I imagine Mrs. H is all tucked in beneath her covers. I never look, though. You don't look behind the curtain. Now, cons. Patty Puddleduck's Playdate. It's a kid's book. Illustrations so cute they're creepy. The book is on the chair when you get there. Cute story. Patty Puddleduck has a picnic, invites all her friends. Betty Blackbird, Reggie Rabbit, Freddie Fishfin. You get the idea. Reading the book is the gig, seriously. Most of the time, what's behind the curtain, Mrs. H, is quiet. But when you hear a noise, you pick up Patty Puddleduck's Playdate and you read aloud. Usually the noise will stop right then. But I read it all the way through a couple times just to cover my ass. When the noise doesn't stop, wet sounds now, dragging sounds, read louder. When the curtains ripple, as if in the grip of a cold breeze, you turn your back to the curtain and read louder. When the wind rises and the curtain snaps like a flag in the gale, do not turn around. You shout out how Reggie Rabbit made carrot cake for the picnic, because of course he did. And when the wind stops, replaced by hot breath against the back of your neck, read loudest of all and pray if you know how. Now, when it's completely quiet, no breath, no wind, not even the rustling sound of an old lady adjusting their blankets, then you can turn back around. I thought about quitting. I have enough cash to get a car, maybe head out west. But during the day, when I sleep, I have dreams. In the dreams, I pull the curtain back. Did you know that the definition of apocalypse is to pull aside the curtain? I can't remember exactly what I see in those dreams, but I wake up crying and reciting lines from Patty Puddleduck's Playdate. I only know it's something vast with too many eyes that are also mouths. I don't believe I can quit, but I can't go on either, not without a few nights off, which is where you come in. The money's good for just staying up late and reading. Like I said, lack of imagination is a plus. Now it's all over. That's it from me.
Oh, that's delightful. But I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Did anyone tear the little tabs off of that poster?
You know what? We actually didn't put little phone number things on it, although I'd like to. It's just hard to print. So you only have so much
and then
size.
there's a phone number which might or might not exist. Yeah,
exactly. But it was fun.
I've
You never
always
know.
been
You never know if
curious
anyone ever read them and got weirded out. But you hope, and that's the whole idea.
That's fun. So how many stories did you put out?
I
how
think,
long were
well,
they
let's
on?
see. I know Douglas did a couple. I did maybe not a whole lot, like 5 or 6. I also had a wallet that with a story in it for about a cursed wallet that I would drop the wallet places and let people pick up and read about, so that was fun too. So we plan to expand it. We just
Did you ever
haven't quite
film?
got onto it. But what's that?
Did you ever film people picking it up or anything?
Film? No. I watched people pick them up, but I don't know. Have no clue what happened after that. I dropped them. It's so sad because so many people are so honest. They're like, "Hey, did someone drop?" I'm like, "No, just open it.
Oh, that's
Come
lovely
on."
though.
But I think all the ones I dropped in Las Vegas did get taken. So
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's like the people who look for the ID, I think those people don't deserve to be cursed. But the
exactly,
people who immediately open it to the cash
exactly. That's the idea.
description, those people, if you put it in there, that's a fun thought. Thank you. Those were both very good, very different from each other, but both very good. And at Story Hour, we find the stories just so immersive that we need a little bit of a break in between the readers. So we just take a moment, and I like to mark it with the breath because that's an easy way for me to ready myself for another story. Yes, I think I've integrated those stories into myself adequately now. Thank you. Thank you very much. That was Frank Oreto, everybody. And our next reader tonight is Ayida Shonibar. Ayida Shonibar writes dark and wistful speculative fiction about misfits, monsters, mischief makers. A Lambda Literary Fellow of this year's speculative fiction cohort and a previous We Need Diverse Books mentee, they've also received support from the Horror Writers Association and Dream Foundry for their writing. Spanning genres and age categories, their short stories, essays, and poetry appear in various publications, including Silk and Sinew from Bad Hand Books, which is where I first heard Ayida read. Fabulous book. The Skull and Laurel, Heartline Spec, Worlds of Possibility, If There's Anyone Left, Wilted Pages from Shortwave Publishing. I think that's a dark academia anthology. Is that right? Yeah. Nice. Luminescent Machinations from Neon Hemlock. We love Neon Hemlock. Nature Futures, Night of the Living Queers from Wednesday Books, and The Cursed Morsel Zane, among others. As a matter of fact, I believe Ayida is going to continue the Flame Tree theme by reading a story from a Flame Tree anthology tonight. And you can find more information at ayidashonibar.com. Ayida, welcome.
Hi, I'm Ayida. Thank you so much for having me here today at Story Hour. I'm going to be reading a piece called Stories Our Parents Told Us. It's a sapphic reimagining of a Bengali folktale about a malevolent spirit that possesses her victims to relive the passion of her married days. This was published in the Asian Ghost Short Stories anthology by Flame Tree Publishing, as already mentioned. And I just want to give everyone a heads up for some content warnings. There's, mentions of death, violence, and references to sexual activity.
Sounds great. Please read for us. Thank you.
Okay, I'll dive right in. I always liked red, even back when I was still alive. It was one of the things I looked forward to most about my wedding, the rich hue of the bridal shari my mother had picked out for me, the color of life, of love, of blood. There were other things I anticipated on my wedding day too, of course. The idea of joining with a life partner, of our bodies and souls coming together for 7 lifetimes as we circled the marriage fire, thrilled me. As soon as we were nestled in the privacy of our chambers, my skin prickled with the desire to be touched, kissed, revered. My parents had fawned over my husband's good looks, raved over his charming manners. I can't recall his name anymore. He hadn't appealed to me at first, but I was assured my fondness for him would grow with time. My mother had insisted it would, the same way she'd fallen for my father over the years they'd built our home together. I had grown up watching my mother find any excuse to work beside my father when he was home, or him going out of his way on trading travels to collect pretty things to gift her upon his return. That was what I wanted for myself. the yearning for another person that engulfed all else. In the sweet fragrance of the flower garlands draping our marriage bed, I couldn't wait for the happy ending my mother had promised. My shell and coral bangles rattled invitingly as I drew my husband to me. But everything happened too fast. There was no poetry, no dance. He flipped my petticoats up, finished his part, and turned to put out the candles for the night. I caught his face to stall him, my gesture urging him to attend to me, demanding he take more time with me. He stared in confusion, muttered, "Sweet dreams?" A moment later, darkness suffused the room, and soon his snores shook the empty space between us. On our anniversary, my bridal shari spilled from the closet I was tidying. I tried it on, a desperate attempt to revive the ghost of the excitement I had once felt. As I dressed, my husband called from outside that he was going fishing. On a whim, I announced I would join him. Rather than stewing in the misery of my loneliness, I would have him suffer the awkward discomfort of my company on this auspicious day. The lake was deserted that hot, stifling evening. My mood sparked dangerously, volatile like kindling under the sizzling sun. "Let's go swimming," I said, seeking to disrupt his mundane task. He gazed at me with his usual disconcertion, not commenting on my peculiar choice of attire. Perhaps he didn't recognize it from our wedding. I snatched his hand, my coral and shell bangles clacking against each other, and guided him into the murky water. It stirred as if greeting us, egging us on. Our feet ventured deeper until the ground beneath them fell away. I didn't intend to kill him. I hadn't known then what lived beneath the surface. Something gripped our ankles, winding like possessed pondweed. My legs slipped free, but my husband gasped as the waves took him. I tried to swim back to the shore, but his thrashing hands caught me in desperation. His nails dug into my wrist, breaking skin. My own head sank into the whirlpool. The last thing I saw before the water filled my lungs was my husband's panicked face. My crimson achel came undone and drifted in the current, bright like the blood leaking from his tight grasp on me. As the lake dragged our bodies down, I remembered this was the man I would be tied to for the next 6 reincarnations. My mouth opened in a wretched scream. My mother had told me that after I died, I would pass into the next life. Instead, released from having to hold breath I no longer needed, I slipped away from my husband's sinking body, which tempted me as little in death as it had in life. Out of habit, I adjusted the scarlet shari over my rotting, waterlogged shoulder, finally noticing the busy underworld of the lake. All around me, vengeful spirits searched for victims to yank below, as they had claimed us. A gathering of ghosts whose unfulfilled appetites had turned voracious after death. This is where the monsters who didn't fit my mother's stories came to dwell. By the time I clawed my way back to the surface, the sun had risen and set countless times. The moon watched as I hauled myself onto the banks, shell and coral bangles dragging against the uneven ground. My red shari descended into the water behind me, stretching in a long, angry train. A soft murmuring soothed my inflamed temper. I inched toward the trees from which the noise came. When I peered over a gnarled branch, I discovered a young couple caught in a heated embrace. The man whispered into the woman's ear, and she blushed prettily. He twirled a strand of her hair around his finger. She turned her head to catch his lips with hers. My own lip curled as I watched them sharing the sort of affection I had never been granted. But if this was something I was denied in life, now I could take it for myself. I lurked by the trees until the lovers parted. Then I followed her home, increasing my pace until I came close enough to catch the enticing coconut scent drifting from her loose hair. I reached out my withered hand and latched on, twisting her silky black locks around my bangles covetously. Her head jerked back, beautiful brown eyes widening with terror when she caught sight of me. and when she opened her delicate mouth to scream, I stepped into her inhale before she could utter a sound. She sucked me into herself, and before she could fathom what I had done, the battle was already lost. My will subdued hers quickly. Her body fell to my command. Her sweetheart waited by the same trees the following night. My heart swelled in her chest when I saw him, pounding with anticipation. I approached him shyly, unsure how to initiate this romantic tryst. It was an experience I didn't have much familiarity with, yet. When he kissed me, I searched for fireworks against my eyelids. As his hand trailed through my hair, I waited for goosebumps to erupt over my skin. He called me his lovely flower, and I wanted a melody to ring through my ears. I peered at him through my lashes and thought perhaps we weren't close enough for a genuine connection to take root. My parents had held themselves together like palms pressed in a greeting gesture when they hadn't known I was looking. I wrapped my fingers around the lover's neck and pulled him flush to me. He spluttered, his face turning the deep shade of my wedding shari. A promising sign, surely. I tightened my caress. When he collapsed in my arms, dead as my husband, I shrieked in rage and relinquished the woman whose love had failed me as bitterly as my own. I returned to the lake to cool my fury. Simmering beneath the surface, I watched people dipping their toes and casting out fishing lines and floating in boats far above me. Their voices drifted to the depths below, carrying news from across the region. They talked of the young Raja who had ascended the throne. He was known to seduce many women, but refused to choose one for his Rani. Years passed, conflict with the neighboring state worsened, and he agreed to a marriage that would broker peace. His bride was to arrive by royal caravan the following month, for a union so powerful it would shape history. Night fell that spring, and I climbed out of the lake again. The path I followed expanded gradually into broader roads. In the distance, a cloud of dust heralded the arrival of a large crowd. As I waited, I fixed the pleats in my red shari, a most suitable outfit for this upcoming occasion. The procession stopped for the evening, setting up tents to camp near a waterfall. Guards surrounded the river's edge to protect the Rani's privacy as she bathed gracefully and submerged her head to wash her alluring long hair. They did not think to shield her from creatures skulking underneath. The Raja scrutinized me. "You aren't like other people I've met, and I've known plenty." His gaze raked down my shapely form and lingered at my feet. "Your shoes are the wrong way around. Is this common where you're from?" I stooped to swap the Rani's left sandal with the right, worrying about customs I may have forgotten during my time below water. "I picked these from my gardens to welcome you." He lifted a bunch of wildflowers, and I distantly recalled my father doting on my mother with presents in another era. My arms stretched to accept the bouquet, and I brought it to my face to inhale their fragrance. Warmth filled the hollow inside me. "Thank you." His mouth dropped open. "Is that another norm in your homeland?" I set the flowers aside, flustered. Should we retire to bed?" He sat beside me and brought his lips to my cheek. In our glorious regalia, we were posed as if for a painting. Picture perfect. Royal spouses destined for a great future, to be remembered by the world. His pulse thrummed beneath his gold-embroidered sherwani, a living clock ticking out the increments of human feelings. If only I could hear it better, gain closer access, I would immerse myself in the intimacy I had craved for over a lifetime. I reached for the core of his sentiment, his heart. He cried out as a vivid liquid spilled through his tunic and onto my manicured nails, an indication of his love bursting for me. I dug deeper and waited for the emotion to sweep me off my feet. A strangled gurgle tore from his throat. Ignoring my needs completely, he collapsed onto the bed, unconscious, just like my husband had done all those years ago. Indignantly, I shook him by the shoulders to revive him. Alerted by his earlier shout, guards threw open the door to the chamber. They took one look at the scene before them and pointed their spears in my direction, obsidian tips quivering in their shaking grips. My hands flew across the room again, arms extending like fishing line in the sleeves of my wedding blouse to knock aside their weapons. The guards yelled in horror and shrank away. Stumbling over my toes that protruded from the back of the Rani's ungainly feet, I released her body and slithered out of the open window. As I fled from another spoiled ending, I wept disconsolate tears for the curse of unfulfilled longing my mother's promises had instilled in me, bound to haunt me for the rest of eternity. I've lost count of the number of failures. It became an almost mindless routine, discovering a love that defined an era, clambering from the water in my soaked shari like a moth drawn to a flame, only to burn up in disappointment when one man after another betrayed my ardent embrace. Each time I returned to the lake with a tear-streaked face and broken heart, vowing to never make myself vulnerable again. But years would pass. I would hear of another couple like no other, a handsome man and a stunning woman. And I could not resist claiming what she possessed, the thing I desired with every fiber of my being. Every time I emerged from the lake, the land above had undergone a transformation from my previous visit. Below the surface, the water suspended us forlorn spirits like a jar of pickled achar, preserving our essence and wants while the world moved on without us. For some reason, fate withheld the romance my mother had told me I deserved, refusing to let me take root, allowing me to fade into oblivion even as my physical presence refused to let go. But there were parts of myself I had left to fester out there without realizing it. For when an entire garrison of guards witnessed the events of their monarch's death, they recounted my inhuman abilities to anybody who would listen. Tales of my scarlet shari and backward feet, of the sound of my wedding bangles and my unnaturally stretching arms, passed from one generation to the next. Though I rotted underwater like a piece of discarded debris, I also lived on in humankind through the stories they told of me. Not residing amongst them, I didn't know this. One warm autumn, a cow came to drink from my lake. People no longer frequented this body of water, which hummed audibly with the growing population of disgruntled ghosts in its depths. But a young woman chased after the errant animal, disturbing our brooding silence. "Goru!" she huffed, looking disheveled. Her damp hair tumbled over her shoulder as if she had rushed from bathing to catch the escapee. "There's so much work to prepare before my husband returns from his trip. Why did you choose today to wreak havoc?" My ears pricked. "It's mine," one of the other spirits hissed at my side. "I want the four-legged beast." "Take it," I replied, "but leave me the wife." We raced to the surface, fixated on our own goals. The vermilion shari dripped from my advancing legs like a fresh wound, as if an artery had been sliced open and gushed rivulets onto the ground. I curled my fingers into that marvelous hair, reveling in the way its cascade emphasized the lovely figure beneath it. The woman gasped when I held her, horror etched into her contorted features. But it lasted only a moment. I sank into her with practiced ease, smoothing her modern outfit, settling her distressed composure. Behind me, the cow descended mechanically into the murky water until its body disappeared. I surveyed the mostly unblemished earth and followed the footprints back to the woman's house. "You haven't cooked the rice yet?" the father-in-law asked as soon as I entered the building. "I didn't take down the dry clothes from the line either. We're very late." "Oh, no problem. I'll have everything ready before my husband gets here," I said. My arms stretched to retrieve the cooking pot and ingredients from all corners of the kitchen, elongating to rapidly gather the things I needed to put together a nice meal. The father-in-law's eyes boggled. When I stepped carefully over the threshold to collect the clean laundry from the yard, his stare fell to my feet and narrowed. "Boma, you've been rushing around since the crack of dawn," he said. "Why don't you rest and save your energy while I walk to the train station and meet my son?" I frowned, wanting to be with the husband as soon as possible. I'd waited many decades since my last contact with a paramour. In any case, we wouldn't have privacy until he arrived at home, so I didn't argue. But when the father-in-law came back, it wasn't with his son. A woman wearing a tunic cropped to the waist, the contemporary fashion, appraised me through the gate that stood ajar. When I reached across the long entryway to open the door, a smirk tilted her mouth, which was painted as deep a red as my wedding shari. "Shakchuni," she whispered, and held up a rectangular device that emitted a flash of light at me. "It's an honor to meet you at last." Then she stepped inside and locked the door behind her. "Who are you?" I demanded. "Where is my husband?" She watched my approach with a calculated gaze. "No need to keep up the pretense. I know what you are. I'm an exorcist of your kind, a scholar who studies lost spirits and monsters. I've seen them all, the lurking bhut and the roaming pret, the ravenous pishach and violent rakosh, all except you with your backwards feet and elongated arms." Her thick-framed spectacles glinted in the dim light. "I've only heard glorious tales of you, memorized the hypothetical diagrams circulated through online forums. The accounts I read describe you possessing women and murdering their lovers." "Murder?" I shook my head. "The only thing I've done is search for the affection I'm starved of. I'm a plant in need of watering, not a weapon." The scholar raised her eyebrows. "The Shakchuni craves love?" She laughed quietly to herself. "Don't we all? After your fruitless attempts, you must know there won't be any lasting romance between you and this husband. You should let him go before you destroy another family." "I cannot let go of my hope for love. It's the only thing that sustains me." She stared at me with her inscrutable brown eyes. I considered stepping close to her, wrapping my hands around her sharp cheekbones, leaning in and yanking until she drew me into herself on a shocked inhale. But her dark hair, streaked with scarlet to match her lip color, perhaps red was her favorite too, was twisted firmly into a bun and tucked out of my reach. As if guessing the direction of my thoughts, the scholar retreated. Just when I thought she would unlock the door and leave me in peace, she drew something from her pocket and set it aflame. I recoiled, covering my face. "What is that awful smell?" "Turmeric," she grinned. "You might be something of a legend in my course of study, but at the end of the day, you're still one more ghost with a ghostly weakness." Choking on the acrid air, I backed into a wall. "Stop!" "You won't need to breathe once you release her." Sobbing with desperation, I climbed out of the woman's body the way I had hoisted myself out of the lake. Her form thudded against the floor as she regained her consciousness and bearings. The scholar moved toward me, but I shoved past her and broke down the door in my haste to escape the toxic fumes and my shattered dreams. Her voice roused me from my morose weeping at the bottom of the lake. "Shakchuni," she wheedled. "I know you're in there. The lady you possessed told me where you appeared from. Won't you come up and say hello?" With the sharp bite of the scholar's turmeric still burning in my throat, I pressed my mouth resolutely shut. She returned the next day, skipping stones across the water as if to provoke a reaction. "Will you linger here forever, snuffing out the lives of men who don't provide the happy ending you feel owed? You know I can't let you do that." One of the bhoots glared at me. "Can I take her if you won't?" I shrugged petulantly. The spirit cackled in glee and soared to the surface. Through the fractured evening light, something glowed hot and menacing against the dark sky. A scream pierced the night. Before I could wonder whether the ghost had gotten the scholar after all, it plummeted back into the depths, with smoke emanating from the general vicinity of its head. "That one's a vicious monster," it snarled, "that even we demons must shun." She stopped by the lake every day, taunting and coaxing me to reveal myself. She teased me with stories of my failed dalliance with the Raja, of my first lover, of the dozens who had come after. Her details were skewed in places, some of the tales incomplete, but she did indeed know who I was. I ventured toward her voice, hovering just beneath the surface to steal glances at her. She peered into the darkness, unable to see me, but searching with a fervor I recognized. Once or twice, her attention almost tempted me to breach the surface. As I watched her one evening, a strange chirping interrupted her cajoling. She held her light-emitting rectangular device to her ear. "Ma's in the hospital. I'll be right there." She hasn't come back since. After days of silence, I grow frustrated. Wondering if this is a trap to lure me out, I raise myself, warily, onto the bank. It's deserted. A panic claws at my chest, like a vacuum created from a space newly emptied. I weave through the trees, red shari dragging behind me, until I stumble upon a woman napping in the grass. Her open hair fans around her face in a halo. I grab it. Her eyes shoot open, mouth soon following, and I hurl myself into her without pausing to care about her romantic circumstances. I retrace my steps to the house with the family that had the cow. When I knock, the father-in-law answers. "I'm looking for the scholar who studies monsters and spirits," I say. "It's urgent, and I heard you know where to find her." He gives me her address. When I arrive there, the neighbor explains she's scattering her mother's ashes at the local beach. The skies tip down their last monsoon showers of the year. A lone figure braves the downpour, the red highlights in her loose hair, calling to me like a beacon. I never got to bid my family farewell. I gesture at her urn. The scholar wipes wet hair and more from her eyes. "It can be bittersweet if you do." "Why?" "My mother didn't like my interests. She worried, said I should live life to the fullest instead of withering into darkness with creatures who don't know how to be properly alive." "It sounds like you discovered your true passion and pursued it. I'm sure your mother would have been happy for you if she understood," I offer. "Mine told me where to seek joy, but I never succeeded." The scholar looks at me. "You've still got time." The rain pulls her bangs into her eyes again. Instinctively, I reach out to brush them away, breaching the distance between us with my extending arm. My fingers linger in her drenched hair, gently feeling the soft texture against my skin. "It's you," she breathes, and I realize my mistake. I propel the vessel body at her. In her moment of distraction, I throw myself into the sea and disappear into its depths. "Show yourself, Shakchuni," the scholar says. "You already revealed something to me that nobody else knows. Is it true? Your mother taught you the love you can't let go?" I touch a finger to the surface. She notices the ripple. "I won't hurt you if you remain in your own form," she says. "What are you afraid of?" Her bronze skin is taut, eyes alight in a way mine haven't been since the day I died. I'm the kind of monster her mother wanted to keep her from. "I want to see you," she says. "The real you." Her words pull me from the water like an angler reeling in their catch. Her lips part when I emerge, her smoldering gaze drinking in my shari and matching bangles. I sift corroded fingers through her streaked hair, marveling at her beauty. She stands so close that my arms don't elongate. "You're majestic," her words whisper against my face. Then she leans into me, hesitating to ask permission, and when I nod, her lips are on mine and exploding the world. She opens her mouth, makes me a part of her. I don't have to thwart her consciousness or take over her body. She's a part of me, too. Her kiss sears through me, the rush of red intense behind my closed eyelids. And finally, I can let go. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening.
So sweet. I mean, horrible in places, but overall sweet. Ah, wow. That was fascinating, and thank you for introducing me to a new supernatural creature. I don't know if Shakshuni is considered a monster or
Well,
or
there's actually like this
ghost.
there's quite a lot of tradition in Bengali like horror folklore about women who, you know, either were wronged during their lives or weren't given the opportunity for something or, you know, died under tragic circumstances like childbirth. And then the stories say that they become these like malevolent spirits. And I think in many cases it's a reflection of, you know, our communities not knowing how to give them the justice that they deserve, and then I guess then turning them into a monstrous villain to not have to account for that.
It's interesting. I think that you can tell a lot about cultures by what they make into monsters,
Mm-hmm.
what they say about them. And this made me think of so many different ghosts and monsters from around the world. The Korean virgin ghosts
Mm-hmm.
and Rusalka. And even with the stretching, I forget the name of it, but there's that delightful Filipino monster who flies around with the detached body parts.
Mm-hmm.
She's cool too. But different from all of them too.
Yeah.
It's like
I think
they
there's
all have
like,
these little points of connection, but you can't
yeah,
say one's an original, you know?
I definitely think there's a lot of like, well, I guess like stories move and then they adopt meaning for the places that they reach. And I think even with time, the stories evolve. So I think certainly like in contemporary times, there's a lot of revisiting of these types of folklore and sort of like, you know, feminist or queer reclamations and retellings from all of these different cultures. And I think that's really incredible because these stories that go back generations continue to bring these new ideas and ways to process ourselves and our relationships with each other. So like it provides that tool for us to be able to have that reflection with each other.
Absolutely. Because the stories themselves never die,
Yeah.
but they change to serve the people of the time they live in.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, Daniel, we're just the luckiest people.
I'm telling you.
These stories tonight have been so creepy and eerie and sad and sweet
And
too.
beautiful. And yeah, I mean, just and very different stories, but definitely there's a through line, you know, as there often is.
Yes, very much. This is definitely a story hour that's going to stand up to a lot of rewatches for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, well, we're using up our hour now, so I must say thank you very much, Frank Oreto and Ayida Shonibar. This has been superb. Thank you, Daniel Marcus, without whom none of us would be here. Literally, this Zoom room would not exist. And folks, come back next week for a completely different hour of stories. Our readers next week will be Adriana Kancheva and Gregory A. Wilson. And you can always check storyhour2020.com the day of for any changes that are coming. And we also do some announcements on Blue Sky. So hope to see you all there. Hope to see you here. Zoom and YouTube every week. So thank you all for joining us at Story Hour.